consensus this year in the laptop space is just buy something from last year, because for most laptops, GPU and CPU upgrades this year are very minimal, and if you can save yourself a few bucks, why not buy last year's model if the design for the most part hasn't really changed? But every once in a while, we get a nice little deal for a 2024 model, and this ASUS VivoBook S14 happens to be it. Because for $849, you're getting a Core Ultra 9 185H paired with an OLED display. Now, most laptops with a Core Ultra 9 usually start for $1,000 and over. So the fact that we're seeing below $1,000 is really, really nice. Now look, you're not always going to get Core Ultra 9 speeds because that processor is usually meant for more beefier laptops, but for quick bursts, you will see the benefits compared to a regular Core Ultra 7. Now obviously I test this against the ASUS ZenBook Duo and a bunch of other laptops, and when it comes to single core clock speeds, they're all pretty even. Multi-core speeds are obviously faster on the ASUS VivoBook S14, but when you're doing stuff for a long duration, that's when the performance drops down to about a Core Ultra 7, and it really doesn't make a difference. Like this could be Adobe Photoshop or Premiere Pro, or even compiling Mozilla Firefox. Like that's when things look very similar to the weaker processor. But for quick bursts, we're seeing Core Ultra 9 performance. Now this is not a gaming laptop and you shouldn't buy it specifically for gaming, but the Intel Arc GPU or iGPU inside of here is capable of playing titles that are, you know, a little bit older, as long as you don't mind dropping the settings a little bit. I mean, this is a 1920 by 1200 display, so you're not gonna have to drop it too much, but Overwatch, League of Legends, Apex Legends, as long as you're willing to make some fine tuning, this laptop will obviously handle it. Now this is 60 Hertz display, but it is OLED, so it looks beautiful, like gorgeous. And if you're buying this to just watch content on it or do any sort of design work, you're gonna absolutely love this display. And if you're not happy with 60 Hertz, they do sell a 120 Hertz model that's 3K display if you want something that's a bit faster. Now, quite frankly, 1920 by 1200 is more than enough on a 14-inch display. Things look nice and text is sharp enough. Now the display obviously goes 180 degrees, so it goes flat against the table. Some people like to stick the display under an external monitor, then just use the keyboard on the laptop. Or some people just like to show stuff that's on your screen by making it completely flat. But look, there's a camera on top, it's 1080p, and this is what it looks like. And this is what that 1080p camera looks like. As you can see, it's doing a good job of exposing my face. It's not blown out. I'm a little dark, but there is a lot of light coming in, so it's doing what it's supposed to do. You have a little switch on top, which obviously blocks the camera for privacy reasons, but you guys let me know how it looks, and obviously, more importantly, how do the microphones sound? The entire laptop is made out of metal. It is super light, great for traveling, great for school, just great for carrying, period. And you know, it's a black laptop, so you are gonna get a lot of fingerprints. A little bit flexy on the top over here, but nothing really to complain about. I think it looks super classy. There's nothing crazy going on, just the ASUS VivoBook wording. You have tons of ports. On the left-hand side, you have your HDMI port, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, micro SD, and a combo audio jack. On the other side, you have 2 USB-A ports. The fact that it's metal, under $1,000 with a Core Ultra 9 is a really cool thing. Speakers, not that great. Like I wouldn't, you know, award these for having great speakers, but it's fine. Like it'll absolutely do the job. Now the keyboard on this has good spacing between the keys. The keys are nice and big. I can type on this quite fast. They're a little bit squishy, you know? I mean, they're deep because the travel distance is nice, but there's a little bit of squishiness over here. No problems typing. I can type fast on this thing. Copilot key replacing the right control key. And the interesting thing is that they've decided to go with a blue RGB for the backlighting instead of white. Now this is nice that they're changing it up, and I think it keeps things interesting, but the problem is when you go blue on a black keyboard, it becomes kind of difficult to see the keys. White at night just, you know, obviously shines a bit more. And, you know, if that's something very important to you, you'll probably want white instead. Now the touchpad is nice and big. It's a good size. It's glass and it's symmetrical right in the middle of the keyboard, which I like to see. I also love the fact that there's enough room on the left and right hand side to rest your palms nicely. Sticker placement, kind of disappointing. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm happy that there's only one sticker, but come on, sticker guy. Like, you couldn't even get this to go straight under the Dolby Atmos symbol. It's in a slant. We can do better. I know they're not paying you enough. I know you're drinking on the job. You lost your family. Your kids left you. But come on, you got to get the sticker placement right. It is Intel Evo, so you know it's going to have good battery life. And I got like 14 hours of use before needing to charge. That's pretty good for this laptop. And when you consider that this is obviously a PC Mark modern office test, so it's not like representative of real life. Like if we're talking about my personal use, I'm estimating around 7 to 8 hours before needing to charge. Also, I should mention one more thing about the display. There is some PWM flicker under 60%. So if you want to keep the brightness around 60 and above, for those of you sensitive to PWM, you'll have a better experience. Now, before we talk about the internals, I do want to say that the average core clock speeds were pretty good for this style of laptop. Obviously not as high as other Core Ultra 9s that are using bigger and beefier cooling systems, but respectable for a laptop this size. Even the CPU temps were a little bit hot, like a little bit. Like they were hitting almost 90 degrees Celsius, but after a certain amount of time, it dropped down to the mid 80s. So a little high, but not high enough for me to be like, this thing is overheating. 2 fans, couple of copper pipes running across the middle. RAM is obviously soldered onto the motherboard. Battery is 75 watt hours. And then of course you have a drive over here that you can swap out obviously for something bigger. Wi-Fi card is completely soldered on to the motherboard. So look, I like this thing. You know, for $849, you get an OLED display, you get good build quality, you get a Core Ultra 9, which is something you usually don't see for under $1,000 in a product that could be a good everyday carry, you know? Like it is in a metal chassis, you have tons of I/O. The only thing to really complain about is that the speakers are not the greatest, and maybe I'd love to have a white backlight instead of blue on a dark keyboard like this one. Anyway, if you're interested in checking it out, there'll be a link in the description down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.